So good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out. We had a great ride this morning, seeing how some of the new routing changes were going into effect. Our bus driver, Samuel, and our bus monitor did a great job navigating some pretty tough traffic on some of the major roadways and making sure that students could get on the bus safely. Were marked off on the app. So it was great to see it in action. This was one of the routes that had been more delayed in previous days. It's in that last wave of school start times that there's 3 different start times, and so as the earlier ones get stuck in traffic, it spills over into the later ones. So we really wanted to see how the routing would make a difference. And so compared to how it's been doing, today we arrived 6 minutes after school start time, which is an improvement from how it's been. And obviously we're going to keep pushing, and we saw places for all of our teams to be able to help support BPS and transportation as well. In addition to riding on this bus, some from our transportation team, the Boston Transportation Department, were on some of the other more challenging routes as well. And we got lots of notes about, okay, I'm going to move this sign to the end of the curb so that cars can't park here and block the buses. And so there are little tweaks that we'll keep making that can go a long way in shifting some of the traffic and letting the buses have a smoother time. But I'll pass it on. And thank you so much to our incredible school leader and superintendent for all that they do.
Wonderful. And I know that school leader Skelly will want to just comment a little bit about when students come in, how we greet them. But, in general, first of all, the students were so excited, a little, I think, in shock when they got on the bus and saw all of us, which was very endearing. But they were excited to come to school, and that's wonderful to see. I think to the mayor's point, we chose this one because this was historically running later, and so it was good to see that some of the route changes have made the difference. It also is interesting to ride with the driver from the driver's perspective to see the challenges that just driving like that. This was a half bus, not even a large bus. This was a half bus. But to see how narrow the streets can be, the parking, the impact on being able to make a turn, and then just the traffic and people yielding to buses or not yielding to buses. So I think collectively there's just so much things we can do in the city. I try to let school buses go as a car driver, but just really kind of recognizing it's important we all do our part because city streets are crowded and traffic is. I'm excited that the route changes that we made, and this is the first installment of them. We'll be doing this every Tuesday night, that as the app gets smarter and smarter about Boston streets, we should continue to see those routes become more and more efficient. And something like Ashmont, where, you had kind of the large flooding, our transportation team was on that last night to try to route buses around that. But this is like where the app can help us in a way that previously we were not smart enough with our old technology. So we're really wanting to embrace the technology, the AI, as a way to get to that efficiency and get every student to school on time. The other thing we noticed is that the bus driver had to wait a few times at the stop, and no student came. And so that's where we would just really ask our parents, if you're not going to take the bus that morning, please cancel it so that the bus driver doesn't take extra minutes to wait at the stop. And that's going to be something we can look at the ridership data and just become smarter and smarter about who's riding the bus and who's not. But it was a good ride. It was helpful to see it as we've done before, and we will do again from the driver's lens of it. The driver, Samuel, did a great job with the app. He checked the students in and out. You could see, and that was a coverage bus. And so you could bus driver, so you could actually see where having the picture of the student and the name of the student made a big difference to the driver. And the bus monitor was wonderful. She greeted each of the students. Wonderful day ahead, helped them get situated. It's everyone working in that system. So really, really happy with the first installment. It'll take a few days, my understanding from transportation, that after we do the route change, it'll take a few days to actually see the impact of those changes. We uploaded also I think it was around 750 students. Dan can provide the exact number, but there was an upload of students that have registered since and come into the system. And so not only were the bus drivers doing different routes, but they also may have had different students. All of this is why the application and the new technology helps the bus driver at each stop. So with that, do you want to turn it over?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Dana Skelly. I'm the proud principal here at the Higginson-Lewis, and I first just want to say thank you to Mayor Wu and Superintendent Skipper for investing in this. It's really important to me that every kid is greeted when they get off the bus by a welcoming staff member, so they know how much we care that they're here. That gets harder when they're late because we need to start our day. Our instructional day starts at 9:30, and we really are trying to maximize learning time for our kids. So when kids get here late, we still need to make sure they get breakfast. We still need to make sure that they're greeted, but that's harder because our teachers and our students are already upstairs in their classes. So I appreciate the attention that the mayor's team and Superintendent Skipper are paying to really making sure this is working for our kids in our schools. The Zume app, I will say, has been helpful, although there's been some hiccups in getting sort of acclimated to a new system. It's really nice to be able to see where the buses are in real time. That's especially helpful in the afternoon when parents are calling and saying, where's my student? They're not home yet. Our morning buses have actually been doing okay. That was our last bus today, 6 minutes late. The afternoon has really been more of a pain point because we are the third school on a route. If there's a delay on the first route or the second route, that sort of multiplies through Boston traffic. And we've been having staff members stay with students here until 5:20, which is over an hour past our delay time. I know that this is going to get better. I trust that the Zume app is something like Superintendent Skipper was saying, like, we're working through the data and getting better. I keep messaging to families and to staff that it will improve, but it has been hard the first couple of weeks of school. I also want to thank the mayor's office for their support in helping us with some roadway improvement on Warren Ave to make our arrival and dismissal safer for the kids who don't take school buses. We worked with the mayor's office and City Hall over the summer to restripe the road so that students are able to get out of their car on the school side. So thank you for that, and thank you for helping us with the school buses as well.
Superintendent? So you guys were 6 minutes late from the start of instruction. Was the goal to get here at 9 o'clock?
So the goal was 9:15 for the bus, and it arrived at 9:36, I believe. There's like a 15-minute that we try to get the buses before to get the kids settled. So to Principal Skelly's point, the breakfast, and then get the kids in motion for the day. So we're really striving for that 9:15. This bus has been running even later than that. I think Dan said it was 9:45 is sort of where it's been. So I do think some of the route changes we saw have now pushed it in the right direction, but we clearly have more work to do, and we'll be doing that over the next several weeks.
Superintendent, a clarification question. So every Tuesday, you guys are going to kind of make adjustments and then go from there. How long do you plan on doing that, just so logistically? So
the design of the app, so we're always in a situation week to week where we get new students enrolling. It's not historically as high as it's been, but it can be over the course of a week 100 or 200 students, even throughout the year. So there's always going to be uploads in any system. There was in the old system, but I think here what we're looking specifically for is route changes, that we look at the routes that are latest, what's happening, is there too many stops, do they need more time built in, is there a different direction that they should be doing. Those are the kind of more major adjustments that we'll be making on those Tuesday nights into Wednesdays. We anticipate those, because the bus drivers are getting used to them, you don't see it necessarily impact Wednesday, but then you see it impact Thursday, Friday, following Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, thanks.
How many parents have downloaded the app and are using it, and are enough using it to make sure that the app's working properly with saying that their student can't make it on the bus that?
So we were at 9,500 parents and about 13,000 students. So some parents, multiple students. So that's fairly critical mass. I mean, we want to get it all the way to the 22,000, but that is certainly enough for us to be able to start to really collect the data in the system.
9:36 is certainly better than 9:45 or 9:50, but what would you say to parents who say, I want my kid to show up to school on time?
I would say you're absolutely right, and that is what we want too, and that is what we are striving for. Yes, they made the comment, sometimes we take the step back to go 2 steps forward. Even in the data last year in September, buses this is a historic issue, right? This isn't the last year, the year before. This has always been the case with buses here. We're striving to close that gap so that we can actually get closer to all students arriving on time. So we want the same goal. Again, empathizing with parents, and we talked with them at the bus stop, the mayor and I did, and to say thank you for your patience as we do try to get this to be even better than it's ever been. That's really what we're looking for. We don't want to settle for mediocrity, which is fairly, like, honestly, what we've had in terms of the buses. We want to actually get this right. And to get that right, we had to do something really different and innovative. Otherwise, we were just going to be getting the same kinds of results.
And updating the routes, is that done through AI or is that done through your team?
Dan, do you want to just explain it? It's pretty fascinating, but I don't know which portion is AI and which portion is our team.
Hi, everyone. Dan Rosengard, Executive Director of Transportation. So we have a team of transportation officers, a routing team. They're the ones that are actually, adding students to routes, adjusting routes. They've always done that work. What Zume offers us, which we didn't have in the past, is each week we're generating real-time traffic data from the buses on the road, which is allowing us to, use that to update our model and adjust the actual timing of how long a specific route takes. And so we can say, this bus needs 5 more minutes. That will allow it to get to school on time so that the second and third trips then aren't impacted. So that's the new piece, and that's what's coming from the software and the technology.
What does the conversation look like between the city, the school district, and Zume? Like, did Zume at any point say you may hit, metaphorical roadblocks with this and it will progress over time, or is this a surprise for the district?
Yeah, I think, we've been in close communication with them. They've been a great partner through this work, and, we anticipated an initial adjustment period. Obviously, we need to work through this as quickly as possible, but.
I'm going to talk about some of the markers they've given us for how long other districts transition and how many bus drivers use the apps.
Yeah. So some of the benchmarks we've seen, and understood from them is first in terms of kind of adoption of the technology. So we were at 88% driver usage by day one, and by the end of the first week of school, we were up at about 96-97%, and that we understand is on par with what other districts have seen. Having 9,500 parents for almost 13,000 students in the app, that's about 60% of our student population. That's maybe slightly ahead of some of the adoption the adoption curve that they've seen in other districts, from what we understand. And then every city is very different in terms of their traffic, their streets. I think Boston is probably one of the most complicated cities from a layout, a traffic perspective, and so that initial dip and then the recovery in OTP is I think a trend that we understand most districts see when going through this sort of change. I think we've seen a little bit more of a dip initially, but we expect to make continuous improvement pretty quickly.
When it comes to parents adopting the app, how are you informing them about this? Is there a place that you would direct them to learn more about the app?
Yeah, so we have been working to reach families through kind of every avenue we have. That started with a welcome letter that went out to all families on the third week of August this year, before the school year started, right around when they would starting to think about their bus assignment for the coming year. And then we've also been working closely with the schools, with the family liaisons, to encourage families through those channels. And then any time that we send out a new bus assignment to a family, it includes instructions for how they can download the Zume app as well. If any families do have questions, they can go to our website, bostonpublicschools.org/transportation, and they'll see kind of a demonstration video for how to download the app, how to log in, as well as FAQs and instructions.
Last question, and Mayor, can you share it in Spanish?
Are you able to say anything in Spanish?
Yeah, sure. And I'll just reflecting on the difference that it makes to see it live and to be actually on the bus and not just seeing the numbers. So 3 quick examples of some things that stuck out to me that I learned along the way from Dan and from our bus drivers and monitors. So first, the fact that each bus does 3 different waves of drop-offs really impacts how late or on time it can be. So our bus that we took, which was the last one to arrive at this school 6 minutes after start time, It was on time for the first school that it was scheduled for, Boston Latin Academy. It then started to pick up students in that area to get to the Elliott School for its second wave of drop-offs. And by the time it got from there in Roxbury-Dorchester up to the north end through downtown, it was already late. And then needing to fight through that traffic to get back down to Roxbury and over to this drop-off. And so there was some cushion time built in that was made up along the way. But I had asked Dan, for example, well, if we know that this bus is usually coming in right around 9:30, a little after, or 9:45, why don't we shift all the routes earlier by 15 minutes and everyone gets on the bus 15 minutes earlier and then we'll be on time? It's more complicated than that, I learned, because the traffic builds up over each wave. In order to move the last wave by, let's say, 10 minutes, the first wave would have to move by a lot more than 10 minutes. And then we're asking certain teachers who teach at certain schools in the first wave to come a lot earlier than other teachers, and contractually and just out of fairness and respect for our teacher schedules, we're really bound by some of those considerations. And so it ends up coming down to the details that we can manage within these routes. So the second observation I had was the same as the superintendent's. When the bus drivers have to wait at a stop and they're not sure how long they should wait, is the student just running down the street and they can't see them yet, or are they not coming at all? That really adds time. We made up time along the way when the pickups were quick, when the kids got right on, and then we actually were ahead of schedule for a little bit in those ways. So Dan also shared with me that as a parent, I had the app on my phone. You can mark that you're canceling the ride, and that will go directly to the driver so they can see it on their screen that you're not coming. But if you do that 2 hours before the scheduled start time, and then that means that no one is getting on at that stop will be removed altogether, so the driver doesn't even have to drive by that. If it gets too close to the time, the route will have been already sent out, so they can't change it. But the earlier that you can let us know through Zoom, and maybe it's a doctor's appointment that your student has, maybe you've decided the night before that you're going to drive because it's on the way to work that day, the earlier we can get that notification, it actually helps the routes be more efficient overall. And then the last thing is that, again, it comes down to the little details. And so I want to thank, again, our transportation commissioner who got on one of the routes from East Boston to Dorchester. Little things that we can do, every little step that we can take from the transportation side, our streets team will make those adjustments, whether that's moving different striping or trying to change the signage so that the places by schools have an easier drop off. We also hope that as this data comes in that we've never had before on where the exact delays are, maybe there are certain intersections where we should have someone directing traffic for the 20 minutes that buses are dropping off or trying to get out of a school. And so this will allow us to really fine tune what we're doing, and it's all hands on deck across the entire city to help support BPS and our students. Okay. Is it okay? Sorry, Chris, and then I'll do Spanish at the end and any other off topic.
Okay, just a quick question, Mayor Wu. So in your newsletter, you mentioned short term we want to have like benchmarks based on real world data. And for short term, what is the benchmark you guys are aiming for the district's buses?
Yeah, I mean the stated goal that we have is to get every student to school on time. And there are scheduled times for each bus to drop off those students. We are holding ourselves to a standard to hit those times. And as the routes get adjusted, that will mean hopefully some more realistic timing between different stops and between when the route starts and when the final drop-off happens. I think what we saw in last year's data was that the on-time performance within 15 minutes of bell time was pretty consistently above 95%, and we want to maintain that performance at least, although again there's going to be transitions with these first couple weeks due to the new app. But I think making sure we're continuing to move forward and sticking to that, and then pushing to improve.
A question about migrants sleeping at Logan Airport. There's a report in the Globe saying that there are migrants back sleeping in Terminal A. Is that something that you've been notified of?
Are there any other on-topic questions? Because I'll let our school staff go do what's way more important if there's no other school-related questions. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.